Hey guys, today we're going to make Mizudori. Taking a page out of the new book, we're going to use the toy box method today. This method by Yamakami-san requires zero scum skimming and stirring, while also extracting maximum chicken umami. Finally, putting a bowl together with some mochi Temomi men and a simple shoyu tae. So, let's get into it. First off, you want to clean the chicken carcasses by washing and removing the lungs and the innards, as these will generate scum if not cleaned thoroughly. Then, you want to cut off any skin or fat that comes with the carcasses and set them aside for later. Moving on to the butchery of the whole chickens. Personally, I took the legs off and saved the thighs for other purposes. Originally, I was going to use that as toppings, but I kind of forgot, so. Then, once again, you want to clean the lungs and the innards thoroughly by washing it through running water. Additionally, the toy box recipe tells you to make deep cuts around the whole chicken carcass, particularly the breasts, which allow for better umami extraction from the chicken meat. You can also do the same for the wings and other parts of the chicken, with the final product looking something like this. So here's the spread for today. We have the chicken skin and fat, which we will add at the end of the cooking process. The boneless chicken thighs, some extra chicken breasts for umami, around 5 kilos of bones and carcasses, and finally, 2 whole chickens that have been cleaned and cut. When placing the bones into the pot, what you want to do is build sort of a cylindrical structure with the carcasses, layering them in a circle and leaving the center open. This structure is important as one, we will not stir the soup from start to finish, but also, according to the master of toy box, Yamakami-san, this circular placement of the bones most importantly allows for an even heat dispersion. Then, you want to place the whole chickens in the hollowed out center. For the smaller broken down pieces of meat or bones, such as the drumsticks, leg bones, or chicken breasts that I'm supplementing in my case, it is also a good idea to tuck them under some bones, around the center, wherever there is space. Both the chicken placement and the cylindrical structure will play a role later on when we go strain the soup. And you want to add just about enough water to cover most of the chicken. Remember that this soup has very little evaporation, hence it is crucial not to add too much water. Starting from room temperature, you want to gradually bring the soup up to 80 degrees Celsius in a span of 1 hour and 30 minutes. Here, you can aim for a medium heat, adjusting as you get closer to the time and temperature mark. After the 1 hour and 30 minutes and the soup is at 80 degrees Celsius, you want to turn down the heat to low and bring the soup up from 80 degrees to 90 degrees Celsius in the span of 1 hour. Again, keep adjusting the temperature as you get closer to the temperature mark. Now, at the 2.5 hour mark, the soup should be at 90 degrees, and the next step is to hold the soup at around 90 degrees for another hour. After this hour, at a total cook time of 3 hours and 30 minutes, you now want to add the chicken fat that you set aside when butchering the chicken carcasses. This chicken oil serves not only to insulate the soup, but also drastically prevents any evaporation of chicken aroma. These will now go into the soup to be rendered for 1 hour and 30 minutes for maximum freshness and aroma, as fats tend to start losing their aroma around the 2 hour mark according to several masters. Again, keeping the soup at around 90 degrees during this period. Finally, 1 hour and 30 minutes after adding the chicken fat, you've reached the 5 hour mark. Now, you want to skim off all the rendered chicken fat from the surface, straining the fat and setting aside for the aroma oil for your final bowl. Side note, there will be plenty of chicken oil yielded from this, so please go ahead and use this for your daily cooking. At this point, the soup has been cooking for 5 hours, and you may choose to then proceed to cook the soup for up to 6 hours. During this hour, the soup will become progressively acidic, as some of the chicken flavor evaporates, leaving behind the broken down amino acids, which contributes to the perceived acidity. The toy box recipe stops at 5 hours, but some masters like Shimazaki-san take their soup for longer. Again, keep tasting the soup to find your personal preference, as well as think of what you desire design-wise, as you take your tare design into consideration as well. Then you want to strain the soup through a paper towel, and remember how we placed the whole chickens in the center? Remove them first to expose a well in which you can sink your ladle in. This mainly serves to ensure clarity of the soup, aside from the ease of life aspect, as you are less likely to disturb the scum that has solidified on the pot and the bones. By aging the soup, Yamakami-san notes that amino acids multiply and hence increase the perceived umami after the soup has been aged. But then again, I'm no scientist, so all I can tell you is to taste and rely on your palate. Another thing to note about fresh soup is that the timing in which you serve your guests has to be extremely well executed so that the rest of the pot doesn't die out before you finish. Personally, I do not have the skill to execute such timing, and most of the time decide to chill down the soup before serving. The approach we're going for today is quite similar to what the master Otomo-san at Kanakatsu does, which is hand mixing, then rolling out using a manual machine. The hydration we're working with today is 45%, but feel free to experiment with even higher hydrations like 50 or above, and making adjustments according to the humidity and temperature of your workspace. Then, 1% kansui, 1% salt, and 0.5% extra virgin olive oil. What the olive oil does is that it creates sort of this overcooked surface to the noodle, giving it a distinct slurp and smoothness that is super satisfying in contrast to the bouncy interior. Once again, we're working with a high protein flour, and prior to incorporating the kansui, you want to aerate the flour by mixing lightly with your fingers. Now on to mixing. Even though we are working with a high hydration, you still want to incorporate the kansui slowly to ensure an even mix. If you're hand mixing like I am, I suggest starting off with 200 to 300 grams of flour at a time, if you're trying this for the first time especially. If you're planning to hand roll, aka teuchi, and do not have a massive rolling pin, this is a good idea. Also, ensure that your bowl is big enough to be able to aerate the flour with kansui as you mix. After all the kansui has been incorporated, it should look like this, where the soburo has formed into large lumps. Here, you can optionally rest the soburo for around 30 minutes to allow the flour to hydrate even more evenly. Next, after the optional rest, we want to form the soburo into a chunk of dough. Here, you can use your fist to press the soburo together, occasionally folding it over onto itself to form a cohesive dough. Since I'm using my marcato to roll out the dough, the folding at this stage isn't aiming for gluten development. But if you are choosing to go for the teuchi approach, you may choose to keep folding the dough at this stage as much as the gluten allows. When a cohesive dough has formed and the surface feels relatively smooth, you can transfer it into a Ziploc bag to be stepped on. When stepping, all we are aiming to do is to thin the sheets out, as well as simultaneously square it off as evenly as possible. Then, you may choose to give it another rest to relax the gluten. After resting, you want to use a rolling pin to roll out any uneven parts of the dough. At this point, you may choose to diverge and go for the teuchi method using only a rolling pin. Even if you are just starting off, I implore you to attempt teuchi even if you have a machine. It is great for understanding gluten development through just feeling out the dough as you roll out the sheet. Anyway, back to rolling out my noodles. First, splitting the sheets into workable widths that fit into the marcato. Then, rolling each sheet out to the fourth setting and laminating by folding the dough over onto itself. After each lamination, you can use your fingers to feel out the stiffness and texture of the dough, using this as a cue for gluten development and gauging whether you want to keep going. Personally, I did 4 laminations in total, as I was aiming for a nice bounce while also wanting a plump softness to each noodle. After rolling, once again, let the dough sheet rest for 30 minutes to relax the gluten. 30 minutes later, I rolled the dough sheet out to setting 4 on the marcato, as we want thicker noodles to be temomi later. But then again, feel free to play around as there are absolutely no rules. Moving on to cutting, first you want to dust the sheets generously with starch. Personally, I used rice flour as it expands the least in water when boiling the noodles. Then, you want to fold the sheets into a log that is shorter than the length of your blade for easier cutting. With that, all that's left to do is to cut the dough into noodles. The key point here is to make sure that your knife is straight, so that you don't cut through the 2 ends of the dough where the folds are. If broken, your noodles will become significantly shorter, so this is quite crucial. Then again, this skill is all about practice, so don't even worry if your cutting is inconsistent. Then, for the temomi, add a bit more starch if needed, squeezing the bundle of noodles using the palm of your hands in this circular pattern. Then pressing down to flatten and fluffing up the noodles. Repeat this as much as you'd like, depending on the curve and wave that you desire. These are, in my opinion, best served fresh, as with thicker noodles, the wheat aroma is desired. Since I really don't have access to nice shoyu at a decent price here, I just mixed together some maduraizu and koikuji shoyus, apple cider vinegar, mirin, and some kind of fish sauce for umami. Same as the chashu in the last video, I simply did a salt-cured roasted pork shoulder and pork belly, aiming for an internal temperature of 63 degrees Celsius for the shoulder and a nicely rendered fat cap for the belly. The shoulder should be sliced thinner for a more tender and soft fluffy-ish texture in the mouth, while the belly can be thicker and should be carrying a nice satisfying snap to release its pork fat. And now that everything is ready, let's put a bowl together, shall we?
雨上がりたどってこればかりを持って頭の中に響く声見えすいた嘘で